in the 1950s onward, from the 1950s onward, it was for the most part Jewish innovation in finance that made Miami-Dade County what it was with respect to its exclusivity. It's changed hands. Now, I'm not here to say that's a good or bad thing, but I am telling you that it's changed hands. For any county in the United States to be majority non-English speaking says a lot about the United States. It also says a lot about the people who migrated here. Now, there are varying accounts of how Miami-Dade County went from mostly Jewish to mostly Cuban over a 50-year period. I'm not here to speculate on that. There are a lot of historical matters that factor into that. But what I can tell you is this. It's difficult to conduct your day-to-day life in a place where the majority population speaks a different language than you, is federally protected more so than any other demographic group in the country, and practices gang stalking all at the same time. It creates a unique machine that makes it difficult to maneuver about freely in accordance with your own personal sovereign rights as a citizen. Now, I've discussed on my websites in various capacities why I think that the United States has allowed sort of this changing of the guard with respect to its demographic in this country. I mean, by 2050, which is only 24 years from now, the majority demographic of this country is not going to be Caucasian anymore, but rather it will be Spanish speaking, the majority demographic of this country. So, particularly over the past 50 years, we've seen a sizable influx in Mexican immigration into this country through Texas and California, with the United States having a very weak response to that. That is a contributing factor to the changing of the guard demographically in this country, because the illegal inhabitant population of this country right now is in the millions. And rather than take steps to use taxpayer resources to seal the border and reduce illegal immigration, rather the United States federal government has taken your tax dollars and given it to the undocumented persons so that they can enjoy government benefits at your expense en route to citizenship. A lot of the federal elected federally authorized, we'll say, elected officials in this country that have given opinions on this matter will say, well, we're a compassionate country. We see that these people's lives in their home country is not up to par, and they've come to America with hopes of a better life and a better future. We are going to honor that. We are going to be compassionate to them, and we are going to use taxpayer resources in the trillions to make sure that they are accommodated. And if you don't like it, well, you're going to have to get together and rally up some of your senators that are in agreement with you to try to find some law that's going to curb this. But that has been impossible, quite frankly. Not even the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has succeeded in his aims of making America more difficult to immigrate to illegally. His attempts at this have been thwarted by federal judges who definitely do not outrank him, but it's difficult to overrule a federal judge. Like, for example, the Alligator Alcatraz, which is a holding facility for undocumented persons, particularly those who have committed crimes. That facility is being, its formation and its operation have been thwarted by federal judges. Furthermore, the wall that Donald Trump attempted to build during his first term in office is not only unfinished, but there's so much red tape surrounding getting the completion of the building going again that President Trump may realistically not even still be in office by the time the wall is completed, if it's ever completed. Furthermore, there have been lots of different measures that elected officials in Congress have tried to take in order to make this country less accessible to undocumented persons. And there's a whole host of reasons why undocumented persons should not be allowed into the United States. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for the populace. It's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for the populace. And the economic impact of such a populace in the United States, particularly the undocumented type, can be catastrophic for the United States economy. But for some reason, all of these factors combined have still not persuaded Congress, or quite frankly, any of these federal judges that keep thwarting attempts to make this country less accessible to undocumented persons. It's nearly impossible, and there's so much red tape and so many hidden laws and stipulations embedded in local, state, and federal laws in this country that it would be nearly impossible to seal the border or make this country less habitable, less accessible to undocumented persons. What's more is undocumented persons are coming to this country and they're picking up gang stalking techniques. So a targeted person like me, who is a fully documented U.S. citizen born and raised, I could literally experience disruption tactics against my person from an illegal alien. Okay? We've seen the advent of ICE, which is Immigration Customs Enforcement. We have seen the efforts that they have undertaken under the direction of the Department of Homeland Security, which, in my estimation, obviously has a hand in the operation of gang stalking, in addition to its duties. And ICE has only been marginally successful in its aim of securing the border. Now, I could easily identify dozens upon dozens of things since 2003 that the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA, the National Security Agency, various federal law enforcement departments, various Department of Defense auxiliaries have done right with respect to keeping the homeland safe. However, in my judgment, as a targeted individual, all of these accomplishments and achievements that the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense have accomplished over the past 20 years pale in comparison to the monumental political catastrophe that the gangstalking mechanism has produced. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, gangstalking goes by many names. And quite frankly, aside from myself, I have not come across anybody, targeted individual or not, that gets into the inner workings, the motivations, and the various consequences of gangstalking to the degree that I've done it. And quite frankly, there is unfortunately a gangstalking industry in the United States where there are sort of, I guess you would call them, preferred sources that people have gone to learn about gang stalking, and these so-called preferred sources all sound the same. They're monolithic. They're not investigative like I am. They're not critical like I am. They're not hard-hitting like I am. They simply write gang stalking off, and mind you, some of these are mainstream sources. They simply write gang stalking off as something that people who are experiencing psychotic episodes or other extreme mental problems face. Now, I am here to tell you here and now, ladies and gentlemen, I am of a sound body and mind and have been for my entire life. This endeavor that I've taken on at my own expense, using my own time, my own resources, my own capabilities, and my own faculties. I can assure you without a shadow of a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, everything I say is nothing but the truth. This is a crime against humanity and a state-sanctioned attack method. Now, once Congress realizes that what they've unleashed upon the American populace is tantamount to a crime against humanity, even if only 10,000 people are affected, let's say just simply for as a hypothetical that there are 10,000 targeted persons in the United States. If there are 10,000 persons in the United States that are experiencing a signal-based, clandestine, extrajudicial attack and disruption mechanism against their person that could lead to injuries, that could lead to occupational problems, that could lead to destitution, that could lead to harm to them in various capacities, that is a state-sanctioned attack mechanism. Even if Congress unknowingly gave its national security apparatus in this country too much power or too much ability to surveil or impede in the lives of targeted persons, that's a matter of discussion and debate and conclusion. As I said earlier in this discourse, I am not of the mindset that Congress sat around, or any of the people who voted on various national security laws since 2003 sat around and thought up, how can we find a way to disenfranchise as many U.S. citizens as possible using the efforts of other United States citizens and federal liaisons without getting caught. I don't think that's what happened, but I do believe that Congress has either knowingly or unknowingly authorized such a thing through national security packages that it did not read or vet properly. Now, if that is the case, then Congress can go to the American people and say we have inadvertently authorized these various containment, surveillance, and we'll call them intrusion mechanisms. And it has come to our attention that these mechanisms have conflicted with the United States Constitution's guarantees of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness for all citizens. So we are going to repeal these mechanisms, defund them, renounce them, and make sure that they never show their face again. Not in this Congress, not in any Congress. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you must know that I am intentionally harsh on the United States federal establishment. I am intentionally harsh on the states. I'm intentionally harsh on local municipalities because, quite frankly, I have seen little to no remedy for this political problem, even though it has already been sniffed out and communicated in various capacities by people who are unfortunately subject to its thuggishness. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen to fight fire with fire. Gangstalking is a hot, blazing fire in the life of any TI. And like a fire, it does nothing but consume indiscriminately. I'm fighting fire with fire, and I'm calling the program thuggish, brutish, a crime against humanity, state-sanctioned biological terrorism, and state-sanctioned murder. And the people that participate in it, I'm calling them useful idiots. I'm calling them deleterious to humanity, and I'm calling them degenerates. Because quite frankly, you have to be a degenerate to participate in a signaling protocol where you are constantly being signaled to a person that you do not know, or even if you know that person lightly or have just made that person's acquaintance, simply to annoy, disrupt, or pester that person endlessly and continually. You have to be of a degenerate mindset to lend yourself to such a thing. Furthermore, I think that this program has and will continue to leave a stain on the legacy of the United States. And mind you, I'm a person that will tell you in a minute that growing up, I was always in awe of the Constitution. I was always in awe of the Bill of Rights. I was always in awe of the various freedoms that the United States guaranteed to each and every citizen. I was always a person that felt secure to live in a country that invested so much in its military, that invested so much in its law enforcement resources, to ensure that domestic and foreign threats to my personal safety and sovereignty were neutralized. And neutralized by those in uniform who have taken it upon themselves to do so. Furthermore, I always felt a sort of a sense of pride that the country that I lived in valued freedom of religion. Even so much as to even put the the phrase "in God we trust" on our money, it made me think, or rather, it made me feel, particularly as a young child, that the country that I lived in not only valued strength, not only valued progress, not only valued wealth and success, but it also valued a belief in a higher creator and the moral precepts that this creator has given humankind so that we can all live on this earth peacefully and in a conducive manner. Now, post 9/11, when this gang stalking program sort of kicked up, it became apparent to me that either Congress had completely renounced its oath of upholding the Constitution in favor of giving the national security apparatus in this country general powers, broad powers, and unchecked powers over who in this country gets to see the light of day with respect to the American dream and who doesn't. Because quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, if you are placed in this constant surveillance, alert, and signaling mechanism, this confrontation and attack mechanism, this biological warfare mechanism called gang stalking, it can be difficult to impossible to not only participate in and compete in American society, but do anything but become a person who is constantly on the defensive and constantly looking for ways out of or to get out of the reach of this stupid degenerate program that uses signals to terrorize you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I personally am somebody who is constantly on the offensive with respect to expressing my displeasure at this program and why. And I'm also on the defensive with respect to constantly looking to increase my distance from people who participate in this loony, goofy, degenerately insane program. So what have I done? I've harnessed the power of the internet to get the word out. Eventually, these words will hit the right ears and this program will be properly investigated at the federal level. And it has to be investigated at the federal level because it's a federal program. There are no jurisdictions to gang stalking. Furthermore, the United Nations needs to step in and look at it as a crime against humanity because you have scores of United States citizens and their liaisons using various attack mechanisms in a synchronous fashion against targeted persons like myself with absolutely no recourse. That is simply a crime against humanity, and I hope that Congress realizes that and gets the ball rolling on the repeal of this program as soon as possible. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, the scenario is this. I am a United States citizen who has taken it upon myself to bring certain matters that are of a potentially embarrassing nature to the attention of the United States federal establishment. While this is going on, I'm still experiencing the same mechanisms that I consider to be gang stalking. Now, there might be some people out there who are trying to confuse the issue so as to help the United States save face and not look so bad because of this. But I submit to you it's too late. They may say things like, well, maybe what he's experiencing, talking about me, is not gang stalking. Maybe it's something else. Because when I research gang stalking online, I'm coming across articles, journals, and websites that describe something totally different. That's all fine and good. I've applied the term gang stalking, hate stalking, call stalking, community harassment, and covert war to what it is that I'm experiencing on a daily basis. Other people might use the term gang stalking in a tighter or looser way to describe other things that they might be experiencing, but ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, it's all under the gang stalking umbrella. It is a national security a national security protocol that leads to nothing but disruption. United States citizens are mobilized and used as tools, particularly weapons of attack against targeted persons throughout the day, every day, and there is apparently no recourse for any of it, only constant discomfort for the targeted person. So what you have is a U.S. citizen in myself who has decided to bring these matters to the attention of Congress. And over the past 10 years, I've seen various upticks and various downtimes in my gang stalking campaign, but the gang stalking campaign continues. And quite frankly, I'm running into some hostilities. I know that there are federal liaisons that listen to what I say online and they get offended by it because they know I'm talking about them. And they attempt to take out their frustrations on me when I'm out and about using the synchronization mechanism. You all need to go to Siberia or Alaska, or maybe you all can go to the North Pole and try to set up some synchronization out there. Don't bother me, don't bother my significant other Lori, and quite frankly, don't bother nobody else either. You're using government resources to pester, attack, and contaminate people. And quite frankly, it's disgusting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in.